depriving that stream of a certain amount of water. The other thing that you can see is that the water table is being lowered by the well. And that's because we're taking water out of storage there. It's this is just conservation of mass. You know, there's no freebie here. When you take something out of the ground, there's less that's there. And so it lowers water level around the well. Now there's some confusion that when you turn a well on, you know, you get a very steep decline to the well, and then you turn the well off and it pops back up. And then you turn it on, it goes down and back up. But the effect is that over the long term, all those ups and downs accumulate to a net down until we reach some kind of a new steady state between the amount that's missing out of the stream and what's in storage there. But there's a predictable amount of down that you'll go in an aquifer when you start pumping a well. And sometimes it takes a long time for those impacts to show up. We've done some calculations for the east of Plainfield area. We calculate when you put a new high capacity well in that area there, it might take 30 years before you reach the new equilibrium with the new well and the aquifer and all that sort of thing. Some places it's a lot faster, but the point being is that it's not like a faucet tap. You turn on, turn it off, and you know everything comes back to normal here. What else here? Oh yeah, okay. Lowering of the water table, and now because the lake is directly attached to the aquifer here, you know, the lake now is lower than it would have been without pumping, right? And all these things, I'm not saying they're good or bad, they just are. These things happen, and it's a matter of degree, you can imagine. You know, a little bit, you don't sweat. You know, if a lake goes down an inch or two, your lake goes down a foot or two, okay, maybe, you know, you have a little different kind of opinion. The last little bit here is a little hard to figure out conceptually, maybe. But over here, the other thing is that when you start pumping this well, it's not just the downstream stream that's getting deprived of water here. We're starting to take water out of this west stream as well. So you can see we've shifted this groundwater divide over this way, and that's going to that pumping well. Okay, you know, we have seen the amount of high capacity well pumping increase tremendously in the central sands. You know, in this part of Wisconsin, we pump a quarter or about a third of all the groundwater pumped in all of Wisconsin, and we have about a third of all the high capacity wells here as well. So this is, you know, 1950, there's only a couple. 1960, you know, about 100. 1970, about 500. 80, you know, we crack 1,000. 90, you know, we're getting up there. 2000, we're 1,700. That's where we were in 2010. We cracked 2,000. And 2013, 2,200. And here's where we can show where the growth has been here. So that's this last slide I showed you a little while ago about where all the wells are. On this map here, the yellow ones were put on between 2000 2009, and the red ones came in between 2010 and 2015. So you see where the Adams County has had a huge amount of growth in high capacity wells, along with the attendant you know, agriculture that services them. So it's, you know, less that we're putting new wells in, you know, where we already have wells, and now we're putting wells in the margin, which brings with them some new challenges. And the heck of it is, when these wells were permitted and approved and all that, there was just an approval written. There was no environmental analysis. There's no consideration about, geez, are we going to start to dry up this particular lake or stream? These things were just given out until you know, 2 years ago, when, you know, the court said we got to do things differently. You know, and the result is, and you know, I'll beat this to death a little bit, because there's a perception that there's Long Lake in Plainfield, a little Plover in Plover, and everything else is just fine. But so this is the Long Lake as it was going dry between 2007 and 2009. Now there's a couple 3 feet water, but my former assemblyman used to say he water skied here, and it used to be a trophy bass lake. Good luck on the trophy bass thing. Another famous case, the Little Plover River, which fortunately there was a USGS gauge there in like the worst drought that we had of the previous century, which was likely in the 50s, if it wasn't the 30s, and it always flowed wonderfully and in a healthy stage. And well, we actually dried this thing out, and now most of the time its flow is below healthy flows. This is standing at a boat landing on Pickerel Lake, which now ends about 100 feet from the lake. This is a Portage County Park, Wolf Lake, where we used to get a couple hundred. I'm on the park commission too. We used to get a couple hundred people there on weekends recreating, that sort of thing. Totally unusable now because the lake's too low, and you go right into the muck. It's a resource that we've lost. Haven't been able to use it. The park manager says for about 14 years. Near Hancock Pine Lake, a creek near Amherst. You get the idea. So these are areas where we have high concentrations of high capacity wells, and we didn't think about there being a capacity at which say this amount of pumping's okay. We'll take this much of a lowering of the lake, but geez, maybe this much is too much. Here's the Adams County one as well. Okay. Well, 10-mile headwaters. So that's the quantity issue. And in all this stuff, there's some subtleties here that I can't go through, but I want to give you the background here so that we can have further conversations about that. And when the environmental impact statement comes out, you'll be able to kind of be literate in the background of it. The other issue being quality issues, and it's nitrate and pesticide. So nitrate has a health standard. It's pretty much a global health standard of 10 parts per million. Right now it's likely low in most local groundwater because we don't have lots and lots of sources of it. All those septic systems are a source of nitrate. And when we get to small lot sizes, we can have problems. So like quarter-acre lots is about you would leach the same amount of nitrate as maybe a cornfield, something like that. We talked about the drinking water standard, mainly for fertilizer and manure. Let's see, more than 100 pounds per acre might be leached. And downgrading into fields and the kind of agriculture that we're talking around here, the drinking water standard may be exceeded by a factor of 2 or 3 or 4. In the paper, there was the piece in the other side of the river here that a well downgrading in these fields was at 77, which is almost 8 times the drinking water standard. Pesticides are more difficult to talk about. They're frequently present in groundwater from the type of agricultural systems that we have around here. But the upshot is there's no perfect evidence of a large risk, but there's no perfect evidence of no risk too. And so an extension guy, I'm giving this to you for you to weigh yourselves here and a little more background on it. Why is the pesticide situation more difficult than nitrate? Well, first of all, there's lots of them. In Portage County, some 60 different active ingredients are used. And then they also have some breakdown products that maybe are or maybe not of concern. A lot of these things don't have standards yet, and a complete toxicology may be lacking. And then we don't know what happens when you have 2 or 3 of these things in your water. And they're hard to look for. And bottom line is this, the risk is hard to quantify. And I'd be a fool if I was to tell you that this kind of water poses a high risk, and I'd be a fool if I told you there was no risk either. If we look at, we have a fair amount of nitrate data for the entirety of the Central Sands, and here we are right now. And you can see in the main agricultural area, the dark red is the average nitrate concentration now, and this is people's wells, is 20 parts per million. The orange is 10. And you can see in Rome and Saratoga, we got a lot of low ones. The water quality is good around here. Interestingly, again, there was the allusion made to across the river here, and you can see all these red squares in a small area there, indicating that there's a fair amount of nitrate in the groundwater there. I was trying to think about how to bring this home, that that I'm just not a charlatan, so I thought I'd throw in a case study here where you could actually see this. So this is east of Stevens Point, the town of Stockton. Who knows where Custer is? Who's been to Clancy's at Custer? Ah, good, okay, wonderful place. So here's Custer, and this is kind of a low-density residential area. Groundwater is moving this direction here, and you can see we have a number of fields here, and then we have a number of private wells scattered around. So we did this at the behest of citizens. Geez, I want to say 10 years ago now, but it's still a good case study. So this red area here, this is a residential area. Orange, obviously, irrigated agriculture, the little forest and other things going on here. These little black dots are all drinking water wells. And here's nitrate. Now the red is over the groundwater standard, it's 10 to 20, and the black is exceeding 20. You see around up here, up gradient of the agriculture, there's only a very few wells that the nitrate is exceeded by. This is pretty darn good groundwater up here. And then down gradient of these fields, you see all these, or many wells, exceed the nitrate standard. We can average these things out by section, and that's what we do here. So the top number is the average nitrate concentration. The bottom number is the percent of wells that are above the standard. So here 69% are over the standard. The average is 14.4. Here